So I have an outline of kind of the main things that I'm gonna cover today. So if you want that later, let me know and I will send it to you. But the two things that we're gonna end up going over today are Google Forms, and that one, I'm not gonna lie, is a little meatier. And then Cami, the PDF annotation application that I think most of you are aware of. So again, the first thing will be Google Forms, because again, that one will take up a good chunk of the time, I think. So the main thing is going, okay, I'm going to start at the very, 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 very beginning. So from your Google Drive, once it loads, if we go, once it's loaded, to create a new form, we're just going to click the new button in the top left-hand corner, and we're going to come to more, and there is our Google Forms option. If you have this, hover over this little arrow, you can start from blank, which is what initially happens when you click Google Forms. That's the default setting, but you can also go from a template. So just really quick, I'll show you some of the templates. It has a whole bunch already set up: exit tickets, assessments, surveys, applications, feedback. It has a lot where they've already kind of tried to do as much work for you as possible. So if there's something you're like, I don't want to start and reinvent the wheel, check your templates first. But we're just going to start, and we're going to create a very basic one. So I'm going to click Google Forms. And it gives me this really blank generic one. So the first thing I generally do is name it. And then for TEALs, I often give a description, just because the way we're using them is kind of for participation and assessment, kind of seeing how they're handling the material. So I'll like explain what units and lessons have been covered and will be talked about in the actual form that they get. I just realized I need to show the chat. So, okay, once we have that kind of set up, we want to look at like the toolbar, because that's where we have a lot of our features to be adding. So the plus sign is how we add a question. We can import questions. So if you have a Google form that you've already used that you really liked, you can go ahead and import questions from that. I've used that a lot this year for TEALs too. You can add a title and text box. So if you have further instruction or content that you want them to read and then answer a question based on that information, that would be a good use for that. You can add an image. We use that to take pictures of code so that they can see it. And if I recall correctly, last year we found out the students can click on that image and enlarge it to be able to see more detail of it. You can add a video, so, watch this video, answer these questions. Add section, that's after questions. That is probably the one that I use the most frequently, because this allows you to separate your form into multiple sections. And like we'll talk about later, you can direct respondents to go to a section based on how they answered a question. We used this during the back to school surveys. So if for one of the questions, it was, how do you feel about returning to school? If they answered fine, it took them to the ability to submit the form. If they said, I have reservations about this, this, or this, it took them to a follow-up question that was in a different section to ask a totally separate question that's related to their answer. So that's how you would use that section. That's also how I have the help desk set up. So, okay, so now that we know our toolbar, I have a first question docked up, and your question would go up here in this text box, obviously. But if you go ahead and select this down arrow, it gives you all of your different question types. So you have your short and paragraph answer, which is obviously text-based, multiple choice, you can select one thing and they view all of the options at the same time. Check boxes, they can view all of the options and select multiples. Drop down is similar to multiple choice in the fact that they can only select one, but it keeps them hidden. And somewhere, one of the people I follow say they use Dropbox if there are more than 4 options, which I think is a good rule of thumb. And I've started to try to utilize that for only more than 4 options. File upload. This one was interesting because you can give respondents. Oh, did you find it, Liz?
Yeah, I don't know why I didn't see it the first time. And I thought you said it was kind of hard to find. So then I thought it was someplace else. And then I was, never mind.
Yes, you can get to it through that waffle icon or through Google Drive. I generally do it through Google Drive. But yeah. So the file upload, like I was saying, that's really interesting because a student can go ahead and create a document or have a picture of something that they put in as their answer. So they literally have the option to upload a file from their Chromebook, from their phone, whatever device they're working on as their answer. I haven't utilized that, but reading up on it, it's a very interesting alternative to certain types of questions. Then we have our scale and grid responses. These are interesting. So like our linear scale, we're allowed to enter information like on a scale of 0 to 5, how pleased were you with your, ice cream? I don't know. And then you would set 0 equals not very pleased, and 5 would be extremely pleased. And they would see it as a linear scale where they could select one of the dots to kind of show you that. The multiple choice grid will have, I've got to figure out how to like state it without going in and typing in all the information. It will have multiple rows and columns. And what it will do is it will allow the respondent to only select one response per row. So for that one, you could put, oh my gosh, my brain is completely flatlining. You could put which class do you want first period, and then they would select one option for each class period and stuff like that. Your checkbox grid is very similar, except they can select multiple choices per column or per row. Sorry, per row. And these you kind of have to fiddle with to see what scenario they would fit for your class. And then date and time are both pretty self-explanatory. So I'm not going to delve into those. However, I am going to set up one question to show you how the answer key works. So I've answered my question. A lot of these will automatically give you answers based on how you ask your question. So I don't have to go in here and answer true, false. I can just click them and it adds them. That's a nice shortcut key. The other thing is some questions, the way that they are phrased, cause Google Forms to ask you if you want an other option. And the thing that's nice about this, really nice about this is, so for our back to school forms, there were some where, what are your concerns? Select all that apply. And they could go through and select. And then we had an other option. And they could click that, and it has a section where they can type in a totally unrelated, non-listed option. So that has a lot of really good uses, and I wish I had known about it earlier. Okay, so the answer key. First, we have to do some setting fixes to allow this answer key, because it will show up in the bottom left-hand corner of our question box once it's set up correctly. So to get the answer box there, we have to come to settings. So in the top right by the purple send button, we'll click the gear, and we are going to go to the quizzes option. And then we're going to turn on make this a quiz. That's all we have to do. We click save. And now we have an answer key down in the bottom left hand of that box. So when I click that, it shows me the question, but now I can assign a point value. And then I can go ahead and select which one is the correct answer, and it'll be denoted with a little green check mark. The last thing about the answer key that's really nice is the ability to add feedback. So when I click that, I can give feedback if they got the answer incorrect, and it could say, go look outside your door and tell me, is it blue or not? And then correct answer, you could be like, that's awesome. If you recall, we read about that in blah, 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 blah of the textbook and why that is the way that is. You can also direct them to a link for like a website for reading material or a video that helps them understand the correct or incorrectness of their answer. Mr. Anderson, you're raising your hand. What's up?
I just wanted to point one thing out as well. When you create, if you're creating an assignment for this in Google Classroom, if you create it as a quiz assignment, when you make it, it'll automatically have that setting set.
This is true. So what he's talking about there is, I could always click the button, but there's no fun in that. I must type out google.classroom every cotton picking time. So when I come up to classwork and I click create, he's talking about if I select quiz assignment right here, that then makes it a quiz and I don't have to do that setting step that I just showed you. When I go in and edit this, it will automatically have the ability to have the answer key. Thank you, Mr. Anderson. So once I have feedback, I would click save. And then to exit the answer key, which you want to do because I've flubbed up stuff not doing that, you're going to click done. Ms. Schermerhorn, what's up?
So sometimes when I'm putting those in, it comes up with something that's like response validation.
Oh, that is actually, okie doke. So certain types of questions allow you to expect certain inputs. So, okay, let me skip ahead in my notes to where that's at because, oh, hey, you guys, I don't know if you know this, the prints weird right now. Okay, so to get to the validations, I'm going to change the type of question that I now have this as, or I'm going to add a new question that's a different type. So let us go to, now we'll keep it a multiple choice. No, we won't. We will not keep it a multiple choice. Okay, so we've created, I hear a voice.
I always seem to get it in a short answer. Well, I do it a lot of math, so I have a lot of short answer, and I always seem to get it there. Perfect.
Okie doke. So short answer, what she's talking about is when you hit these 3 dots, you have response validation. And what this does is it allows you to set a condition that their answer has to fit and meet. So like, what is 2 plus 2? Then, even though they're typing in an answer, to help with the auto grading, we can say that the answer must be a number that is equal to the number 4. If they are incorrect and they enter anything but 4, we can say, sorry, try again. And then we can have our answer key. Correct answer is 4. Done. Okay. And just to show you in like what the students would see, if I go here and enter 3, sorry, try again, because it's not the correct answer. If I go 4, it accepts it and it moves on. So that is how did that answer your question, Pam?
Yes, it did. Thank you.
Okie doke. And there are a lot of different settings you can do. You can do the length of their response, specific text that you're looking for. So yeah, there's a lot of variation, and it depends on the type of question that you get these different settings. So Before we go further in depth on that portion, we're going to look at how you get, last thing on that, sorry. You can also make a question required. So for TEALS, okay, so for that example that I just did, if you noticed, I didn't answer the first question and it still allowed me to submit the form. That's not ideal if you're wanting to take an assessment or have them complete a quiz. So you're just going to flick this setting on, and now they are not allowed to submit it until all of these required questions are answered. And it's cool because it will show a little red asterisk, and that's how students can know this is a required question. You have to answer it before you are allowed to say you are done. It will also, okay, I'm getting ahead of myself. Sorry, I got all excited and now I've got to just like calm down. So we looked at the validation, the data validation. There are more options in these 3 dots though. So we can add a description. So you have your question, but if you wanted to give them a little bit more information, like we talked about this in Unit 2, you could do that. I very infrequently use that feature. This is what I was talking about with sections. So to show you how this works, I'm going to create a section. So I have test. When they go in, they will have these 2 questions, and then there won't be a submit button at the bottom. Instead, they would just continue on into various sections. And I use this sometimes to break up units that we've talked about. So I have section 2. Come back to this question. I want them to navigate to a separate section based on how they answer this. So go based on selection. So you'll notice the page looks the same, except now we have these 2 options right here next to each potential answer. And if we hit the drop down button, we can say, okay, they've selected the correct one. Let's go to submit form. If they didn't get it right, let's go to section 2 with maybe some follow-up questions to work them through it. Okay, so then as they take the quiz, based on which one they select, it will move them to a different portion of the quiz. And true and false, I know that was a really bad example to use that on, but you get the gist of it. The one thing that is interesting when you start messing with sections is you'll notice the question just before the next section automatically moves on to the next section. Most of the time that's fine, but like for my help desk, that would have made it very complicated. So you can move it to different sections, but you want to be aware of this one that is at the end of a section. Just like heads up, that's messed me up a lot. Back to our 3 dots. We can also shuffle our option order. So once in a while I have a problem and I don't know why. Whenever I have 4 options, my brain always puts the correct answer as the second option. And I've tried to like avoid doing that, but I, for some reason, do it. So I often select shuffle option order, and then it just takes, and Billy might get the answers as true, then false, whereas Frank might get it as false, then true. You get the gist of it. This also makes it a lot easier to have a more unique quiz for people, so that, I mean, we were really not in the situation where so-and-so can watch their classmate take the quiz, but it would make it harder to cheat that way too. Okie doke. So those are like the question settings, and they vary, but those are the basic ones. So now I kind of want to show you basic form settings, and those are going to be the 3 dots in the top right, just to the right. No. It's going to be the gear again. Sorry, gear. And it's going to take us to this window. So for a lot of the forms I do, I automatically turn on email, collect email. addresses, because it just makes it really nice when you're sorting through responses, especially if you forget to say what's your name as the first question. And for the kids on their Chromebooks, they don't even have to fill in information for this. It automatically takes it from their Google account that they're using to fill out the form, especially if they got directed here via Google Classroom. So I almost always come in and I turn this setting on. However, I don't generally have response receipts. Pretty much what that does is after they've filled out the form, it will email them a copy of all of their answers. But you could do that. For required sign-in, Miss Morton, this one is specifically for you. The other day you said you had sent a form home to parents, and it said they were restricted from seeing it. They didn't have access. So what you would do is you would come in and you would unselect restrict to users in Sprague School District and its trusted organizations. This setting makes it so only people with spraguelamont.org, sprague.wednet.edu, or lamont.wednet.edu email addresses can fill it out. So if this is on and you send it home to parents, they will not be able to edit it. So you have to deselect this for people outside of the school district to be able to fill out the form. You can also limit the amount of times people can fill out the form. For tests, I select this, but for everything else, I leave it blank. That pretty much means, sorry, I just keep saying Billy. That means Billy can take his test only once. He's not allowed to go in and retake it again and completely mess up my grade book. Which if you're doing it through Classroom, it automatically doesn't allow them to do it again. Respondents can edit their responses after submission. I also keep this off when I'm giving quizzes, but for like feedback, I will turn this on because I know once in a while people mess up or change their thought on something. So depending on what you're using your forms for. And then see summary charts and text responses. That's pretty self-explanatory, I think. So that is our general settings. If we go to presentation settings, we have only like 4. They can show their progress bar, which will say you're on question or section 1 of 12. You're on section 2 of 4. They can see that or they cannot. That's entirely up to you. Shuffle question order. I don't really suggest this one, especially if you have sections, and I leave that one alone. I don't like that setting. Show link to submit another response. So what this does is after they've hit submit and it takes them to their end page that says, congratulations, you filled this out. If you have this selected, there will be like a little hyperlinked text below that says, click here to submit another form. For feedback, that's fine. Quizzes, not so much. And then lastly on this page is the actual message that they see on that page. The default one is your response has been recorded. Once in a while, I like to make it fun and be like, thanks so much for your input. It's greatly appreciated and valued. Have a good day. Stuff like that. And then the last section is quizzes, which we kind of already took a little peek at, making this a quiz. This is one that someone else brought up to me, and I don't remember who. Turn on locked mode. So what this does is if your students are doing a quiz on their Chromebooks, this acts like a lockdown browser. They cannot open other windows. They cannot navigate out of the quiz. It locks their Chromebook into the quiz until they have completed it. This I use also for TEALS tests. So that's a nice one for Chromebooks. Release grade. This is fun because with those answer keys that you have entered, you have also turned on the ability for the Google form to self-grade the quiz. So students could ultimately come in, enter their information, and if you have it release the grade immediately after submission, all of the ones that you have given answers to, it will look through and give them a grade. This is sometimes good and bad. It depends on if you have like text entered questions. For those, I usually I select later after I've manually reviewed the quiz. That way I can look through and say, oh, okay. Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry, you guys. My Teals group just turned on and they started talking and I thought someone in here was talking. Oh my gosh. Sorry. Okay. The last one is these 3 little settings after okay. This allows you to change what respondents can see. They can see questions that they have missed, which means the ones that they've gotten incorrect. They have correct answers, and that'll show the correct answer for each question after the grades are released. And then point values, which will show your total points and the points received for each question. Does that all make sense? Your stunned silence, I'm going to take as a yes. So then after you have it all tweaked, we'll click save. And then I'm not going to lie, my next favorite part is actually, like, if you wanted to make it look different and customize it, you'd come up to this little paint palette in the top right-hand corner. And when you click that, it gives you 4 settings. You can choose an image for your header. So like for the back to school ones, we either had Sprague Lamont School District or our Ohana headers. The fun thing about that is, if I recall correctly, it's been a little bit, they have to be a specific like dimension and quality. I don't think it's a really difficult one to have, but it crops it, that's why, and all of that fun stuff. From that header image, it will give you a few custom color options that match it, or you can just be weird and wacky. And then your background color, change it how you want. You can change the font. That's horrendous, and I can't read it. Those are very straightforward, but they make it kind of fun. Okay, the next one I want to cover is send. So if you are not doing it via Google Classroom or you're sending it home to parents, when you click send, this page pops up, and you can send it 3 ways. You can send it in an email. You can grab the link and either hyperlink it in like your teacher page or in a email, or you can actually embed it in your teacher page. So when they go there, they see the form and they can fill it without having to navigate elsewhere. So the first one I want to look at is email. We would select, the people we want to send it to. We could say the subject. We can have a message, or we can delete it. I'm going to delete it. This setting right here is my new best friend. If I select include form in email, they can fill out the form in the email. They don't have to, again, navigate elsewhere. If you don't have this selected, what it'll do is it will send them an email with the message you've inputted and a link that they have to click that will take them to the form, which can sometimes be a pain in the butt. The link, this is your basic link. It's really long. If you want it shorter for people to be able to type, you can shorten the link. It's still kind of a mouthful. And then you have the ability to embed, which I think some of you have done in your Google staff pages. And that just means embedding it, nesting it in your website. The last setting on here that I want to look at is actually under the email ones, and it is to add collaborators. So let's say you have a form that you're working on that you want another staff member to have access to see either the responses or to add questions. You're going to click add collaborators. And this very familiar page pops up where you can enter in the people that you want. You can set them as editor. That's the only setting here. Notify will send them an email saying, hey, you now have access to edit this form. And we'll click send. Oh my gosh. Come back. No, come back. I'm not done with you. Thank you. So back in there, we also have this link, and this is also very important for making sure that parents and people outside of the school district can access this. And that is as you can see, the get link has it restricted to only people in our network can access it. I'm sorry, this is so weird to focus because I can hear my Teals group in my ear and they're having a conversation. And it's like one of those like voice echoey thingies. So when we click change, we have this option to come here and anyone with the link can now access this form. Done. And I always, those two features or those two settings, I check each and every time I have a form that I share with my Teals people because they are outside of our Sprague Lamont domain. That is pretty much it for Google Forms. Are there any questions? Oh, no, there's one more. See, again, I got ahead of myself. It's how to actually see people's responses. So we have up here questions and responses. If we click responses, it will take us to this page, and there are 3 different ways we can view it in the Google form. Summary. Just a second, I'm reading a message. Shannon is already added to the Friday attendance. I have the spreadsheets that I'm about to show y'all saved to her desktop, so she can go right in there and view responses streamlined. So the 3 options for seeing them in the Google form is summary and gasp. It gives you a summary of every single question on the form and how it was answered through the overall class. You have question and it will show the responses per question and it sorts it by question. Then you have individual, which is my favorite way, and that will show you based on respondent. So for a class, it'll show how one student answered every question and you can sort through it by person. However, my favorite way, and I've discovered it's the easiest way for me to make heads or tails of the information, is actually through a Google Sheet. So if I come up to the right-hand corner of this small top rectangle, it's really fun to try and like speak, and click Create Spreadsheet. I only have to create it once. I can title it whatever, and then I can click Create. And what that'll do is it'll open up the sheet and it will have all of the responses filled in for me. From there, I can do my graphs and I can pull information. And Lloyd, this is actually what I was talking about. This spreadsheet, not this specific one, but the spreadsheet for the attendance is what Shannon has on her desks. And it will sort based on the timestamp of when it was filled out, if that makes sense. Okay, now that is the end of the Google Forms. Are there any other questions that I have not covered in my flow of talk?
So I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
So when we get these Google Forms back and we need to return them because they need to do more work, or they're empty, for some of us we're getting work from, you know, a 9th grader that keeps turning in empty forms. How do we return it to them or show a grade? Or because it seems like if you put a grade in, then they can't edit it.
So that is where that edit after submit is going to come in.
Okay.
So I'm assuming you're talking about through Google Classroom itself.
Correct.
So, okay, I should have left Google Classroom open, but I didn't. I didn't have that forethought. We're going to go right here. So on classwork, I lied. I don't have any forms on here. Okay, so while I try and hunt down I don't have any forms. That's a lie. I have no forms assigned. So what that would do is you would, under the assignment, you would select the student for the form that it's due, and you would return it. And then they would be able to go back into that form. And if we have the edit after submission button on, they should be able to go back in and continue working on it.
And then when they've turned it in and it's done, we're past it, you mark it as reviewed. Is that it? Okay.
Okay, I'm sorry. I have to figure out how to unmute or how to mute my, hi, they can see me. I have to figure out how to turn off my headphones, or I can't. Okay, I can't do that. So, but then, did that answer your question, Pam? Okay, cool. Any other questions on Google Forms? Okay. Okie doke. So then we'll switch gears and we'll look at Cami. Okay, so for Cam, okay. So Cami, I don't know how many of you have utilized Cami. Okay. Okay, I don't know how many of you have utilized Cami, but pretty much what it is it is a PDF annotation application that works through Google Chrome's browser. And that just means students can write or type or highlight in a PDF that you've assigned them. So, oh, I know why I don't have it. Okay, I have Cami right. Oh, that screen just completely went away, so now we have to present my new screen because why not? Okay, it's loading slowly. Okay, so switching all this stuff around is so much confusion fun. Cool. I don't know where it went. Can you all see my screen? Like a thumbs up or a head nod? Okay, cool, because on my end, it's not showing up. So, okie doke. So, for Cami, Lori and I tested this, and it doesn't just work for PDFs. Like PDFs are what it's made for, but it works with Google Docs, it works with Google Slides, and oddly enough, it works with Google Sheets. So from your Google Drive, you will just right click on whatever file you want to annotate, and you're going to click open with, and you're going to click annotate with Cami. And that will go ahead and open this up. And it will take us to the document that we opened. Right now for this, I am using the 90-day trial of Cami. And I know Lori and I have talked about this. Cami has a paid version for teachers, and there are two options. There's the personal use one, which is $10 a month to use. But then there is the education one, which is $99 per teacher per year. I'm watching Loy's face because I can finally see you all. And but yeah, so those are some options for Cami. However, I've discovered for the most part, the features that I use come with the free version. So there's still a good chunk you can do with the non-premium paid version. So don't worry too much. Okay, so I just want to look over the toolbar with you really quick because that's going to really explain most of it. So we have the select. The first one is an arrow, which is where I can go ahead and click stuff. I can, by the way, this is something hyperlinked, and all of the hyperlinks carry over, which was the coolest thing that I learned. So if you have a slideshow that has the hyperlinked tabs like our planners, those still hyperlink. It's great. And it even highlights it a little bit. I don't know if you guys can see it on your end, but it highlights it so you know that it is a hyperlinked thing. The next one is the hand tool, and this actually allows us to click and hold and drag and drop around. So if we were zoomed in, we could maneuver around that way. And then we have the select annotation. Let me go to a page that actually has annotation. April. For some reason, I felt the need to put April Fools, but I've got it kind of clipped a little bit up here and I want to move it. So I'm going to drag and select it. And now I can move it down. Stay. Okay. Evidently, it doesn't like me. Oh, just allows me to select it, you guys. And oh, And copy, paste, or delete it. I don't get to move it around. Rude. Okie doke. Dictionary. This one is got its uses, and this is part of one of the premium features. If I select dictionary and a student is using this as kind of like a learning tool, they highlight a word, and when they have dictionary selected, a little window will pop up defining the word that they've selected. Again, this is part of the premium one, so if you haven't paid for it or we haven't paid for it, this won't come with your feature. Text to speech is another one of the premium features, and what it will do, I don't know if you guys can hear it, it reads it to you. And I think right now I have it on some weird setting, but you can click it and read the page. It'll read the entire cotton picking page if you want. I didn't want it to. You can move on through sentences. You can navigate. You can loop. Your basic playing settings, your voice settings, where you can change it, and you can change the speed, and you can speed it up and make it talk really fast and get a good giggle out of it. But again, that's a premium feature. Next, we have markup. And this, I've discovered, is great if you are working with students on the whiteboard or a projector and you are editing a document. So if you click markup, you have the ability to highlight text, and this is the regular, like, weird drag and drop one. You can do a boxed highlight where you draw a box and it highlights. You can strike through words. Oh, goodness, not the whole page, Stephanie. Just breathe. Okay, it hates me. Nope. You guys, this is really hard with a mouse. Like, I'm used to using my touch screen. And it struck through the entire page. So we're going to undo that because that was not good. Let's try July. Just July. Okay, there we go. I struck through, but it has this weird yellow highlighted. So it came out. I swear, if I select the whole page one more time. Okay, you know what? This document very clearly was not the best example for some of these features. It's better when it's like lines of text and not just random blurbs. Then, okay, and then you have the underline, same as strike through. But if you want to, like, yeah, you guys know how to use this for your classroom needs. It's editing together. Then you have the ability to comment. Now this one, I believe, allows you to do the text in the basic feature. I think these other ones are part of your premium. I would have to double check on that one. But this allows you to leave a text comment. So if we select that, I can go, you're missing something on the 22nd. And now when I give it back to a student and they open it with Cami, they see this little highlight thing. And when they hover over it, it kind of emphasizes I went to go point to it and I was like, you guys can't see me point at it. It emphasizes the note that is like on the side of the document. Please, if at any point during this I'm talking too fast, just let me know, because like I'm an energy drink into the afternoon. So you can also do a voice comment, which is kind of really cool, especially for maybe our elementary learners who reading is not something they want to do like all day or after they've just read a long passage. Well, Loy, to answer your question, like I had a killer migraine, so I think it's trying to seep out. So evidently I'm not storing it all in my head. So the voice comment feature, you can click it. Same with the text. You find someplace and you go right here. And the second you click it, it will like ask you if you want to use your microphone up here. You have to click allow. I have already done that. So that step will not appear on here, but it will the first time you use it. So when I click the date, it'll start recording me automatically here in the side Once I'm done, I click stop. And then the students have it. They can click play. It's really loud. I don't know if you can hear it, but that's how that works. Is the audio playing through on your guys' end? Oh, thank God, because it's not on mine. And I was just like, oh, great. I'm deaf. So that would play through if you're not in a Google Meet. But, and then they can respond back and be like, but how? Or they can respond back with an audio themselves. Voice typing. Okay, then you can do a video comment. This one's weird. But again, once I hit click, it'll ask if you will allow it to use your camera. Up here by your URL bar, you have to click allow the first time. Once you click, this window will pop up. You'll have a heinous little like image of you on your screen, but because I have split screens, you're not seeing it. Warning, the first time I used this, both of my windows were black screens because it was like Cami trying to attach to my camera the first time. And it like the white balance was so bad that it just like freaked my camera out and was like, no. So if you use this, just beware the first time your camera might be weird. So once I click done, there's the video. They can click play and listen to my feedback and see my face as if hearing my voice isn't bad enough. The last one on the comments is screen capture. And this one actually I could see being very useful to give feedback because it captures your screen. So you can like give them direction without having to stand over them. So when we click it, click somewhere else again, and it'll ask you to select which of your screens you want to have showing. This is because, again, I'm split screened, but you can have an application window or a specific Chrome tab. Just going to click screen 2. I can come here and I can be like, oh my gosh, don't listen, like, don't pay attention to this section of your text. It's wrong. Don't. You need to make sure you're filling in over here, whatever. I don't know. You guys are the teachers. You get paid the big bucks for that. I don't know what feedback you give. But once you're done, you click done. And they get to see your desktop and listen to your voice. And again, because I'm split screened, you didn't see the fact that it also showed my face. So they got a video inlaid with the voice, with the screen capture, but I'm split screen, so that didn't show for you guys. And then they have all of their comments beautifully like preserved over here. And when they click on a comment, you'll see it like highlights where that comment is directed at. And you can change your color however you want that done. That's the comments. Moving on to text box. It allows you to create a text box. I mean, most of this is pretty self-explanatory. So you select text box. I hear voices, but I don't know if it's Teals or here.
Hey, Stephanie, I have a question.
Oh, it's here. Okay, cool.
So if I like let my students open up with Cami, say my remote or, you know, my asynchronous learners or can they put like questions in and send me a question like, I don't understand this section, but then can just I see it or can everybody see it?
That is a great question. So if you have made a copy for each student, then just you.
Okay.
If it is a copy for like the entire class where they are all editing one document,
right,
then I would assume everybody can.
Everybody can see it. Okay.
Yep. And that actually brings me to an interesting point. With Cami turned on right now in Google Classroom, when you go to create an assignment, it has the option to create. Oh my gosh, you guys. I said Google and my Google Nest and my phone both started talking at me. And now I'm hearing like 5 voices. And I want to know if you all can hear them too, or if they're just in my head.
They're just in your head.
Oh, that's really bad. Okie doke. Okay, the Google Classroom. Shh. Okay. it has the option for you to create a Kami assignment. If you have an expired teacher account, that won't work. It like freezes your Google Classroom. That is a premium only feature, which is kind of obnoxious. And that would give you a few other like features, settings with what Pam's talking about, with whether someone can see it or all of that fun stuff. And it would only allow them to open certain documents in Kami. Like right now, they have the option to open it in PDF, in a viewer window. That would make it only viewable in Kami. So that would play into Pam's question a little bit. And if any of you were interested in having the teacher one, that would then become an option for you, and it would change how I would answer that question for you. But if you are just using a Google Classroom and you upload a PDF, if you make a copy for each person, Pam, to answer your question, I believe you would be the only one that would be able to see their question if you open it in Kami as well.
Okay.
But that's the other fun thing. You have to make sure you are opening it in Kami.
Right.
So if Billy was given a PDF, a copy of it, asked you a question in it, and you opened it in your PDF viewer, you will see absolutely none of his annotation. You have to open it in Kami to see the annotations that they've used Kami to make. Yeah.
Okay.
That sentence came out right, I promise. Yeah. So the text box, like I said, self-explanatory. You select it, you do font size, get out of the way, colors, and you can select the colors. Then you select where you want it. You can type, and then using your select button up here. Oh gosh, oh that scared me. Oh gosh. Would you just, thank you. You can drag it around and move it and all of that fun stuff. Equation. Now, I feel really bad for bringing this one up because once again, this is a premium feature. However, I kind of feel like with the drawing feature, it can almost be bypassed to an extent, because this allows you to type in or insert equation symbols. So we select the top font size, and then we can go ahead and enter in their set a number of equation, which I'm sorry, there still is kind of a limited selection in my very brief viewing of it. I mean, I guess it would be enough for your basic math, but yeah, there's your selection. But again, in my opinion, if we move on to the drawing option, you can add it in yourself. I mean, I did that very wrong. Excuse my very poor math, but I mean, you can handwrite it in my thought process. I don't know. Okay, so on to the drawing one, which is part of your free version. You select your pen line thickness, transparency. If you have it all the way up to the top at black, that is the most opaque. If you move it all the way down to the white at the bottom, that's the most transparent. With, what do you mean without a mouse, Loy? Are you, okay. I'm sorry, my brain is so like frazzled right now. Do you mean like with their trackpads, or is there an alternative way to do it without, like, that's easier? I'm sorry, my brain is mush.
So if I have like a physics problem and I want to give each of them the paper, and so each kid has their own copy, and I want them to work it out, so instead of having a hard copy, they can actually just be working it out and showing me that they're crossing their units off and all that kind of stuff. How do they do that without, can they do all that just on the trackpad? I guess I've just never tried on my own. Oh, never mind then. Okay.
Yep. They would just click and drag around on the, like a drag and drop almost.
Okay.
It's doable.
It's manual dexterity. It's not easy to do on a trackpad.
This is very true. And we discovered that in elementary this week, while we were trying to draw pictures in Jamboard, drawing, moving, manipulating with those trackpads kind of really blows. Like, it's doable, but it's difficult. So handwriting is going to be bad. But again, doable. Shapes, again, self-explanatory. It allows you to come in and, wow, I drew a square. You can change line thickness. You can have lines specifically in case they don't have the shape you want. You can change the color. I mean, most of this, again, is kind of self-explanatory. Eraser, we can go ahead and erase everything I just did. Woohoo. Image is another thing that is part of the premium, which kind of blows. But they can upload an image from their computer, from Google Drive, or they can search in Cami from like Google searches and import it without having to like go elsewhere. And they can do stickers, which I'm not gonna lie, some of the stickers are really cute, and that might be my inner like third grader coming out. But you tell me that's not cute. Okay, sorry. So you can, yeah, sorry. And I believe I tried a workaround around this, and I like went somewhere and I copied an image and I tried to paste it in, and Cami's like, I see what you're doing. No. So if I recall right, that does not work. But depending on what kind of document you're using, there are ways around that. So like if I had opened a Google slide in Cami, I could have entered a sticker like in Google Slides before opening it in Cami. So, I mean, there are workarounds around that, just depending on your document type. So I'm going to delete the cute sticker now. Sorry, sticker. Signature is another premium one. And pretty much this is if you need a signature. Again, it's kind of self-explanatory. They can upload it via an image. They can sign it on the computer. Or this is really neat. They can sign it on their phone and it can be like looped to the document, which is really nifty because if you're really bad at signing on your trackpad, then that's a nice feature. This is the dumbest thing in the world, but I'm going to tell you it because it's kind of my favorite thing. You can switch where your toolbar is. I hate it on the left-hand side, so I can move it. Now it's on the right-hand side, but I also kind of hate it just hanging out there. So if I hit this little double arrow, it's minimized and out of my way. So yeah, Cami is really cool. It has its uses. I love that all the hyperlinks still work. That is probably my favorite thing because for my Google Slides planner, I can still maneuver around it. But yeah, that's actually pretty much it. There's some specific things that if I'd had more time, I would have shown you in Cami, like how to add more pages if you're using a PDF, which thank you, Lori. She brought that problem to me, and it is doable if you are using a PDF. Another workaround around that is create it in Google Slides and then open the Google slide in Cami, which again, from your Google Drive, if you right click on the Google slide and click open with, you can open it in Cami and all of those hyperlinks and all of your stuff is still there. But it's still a Google slide, so you can edit it. Yeah. Dear God, there it goes again. I hope you heard it that time. My Google thingy started talking at me again. Okay. You have no idea how many tutorials have been ruined by my phone and the Google Nests and everything talking at me outside of my head. Okay. Any questions? Before I say farewell, is anybody at this point going, man, I could use those Cami premium features? If at this point you are, or later on you're working with it and you're like, yes, I want to have those premium features, just let me know. And we can we can see what can be done. But yeah, that I think is it.
Thank you, Steph. You're awesome. This is good. I feel like I just need to spend time with it now. So that's going to be where I need to know, and then I will have a lot of questions for you.
Yep.
And I have to, yeah. But,
yeah. And
yeah, it's awesome. Amazing.
If you guys, while playing around with them, go, oh my gosh, help, holler. And I will also end up sending you my, like, I kid you not, you guys. Oh, somehow I got someone's algebra. But I also, it's like a 5-page outline for the forms and Cami. So if I will end up posting that on the distance learning classroom so that you guys can have that if you want to walk through things that I talked about. So, okie doke.
Thanks, Stephanie.
Yep,
Thanks so much, Steph.
not a problem. See you guys. Have a good weekend.
Do.
Okay.